Let's kick this pig. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir.
And
3, 2,
2,
you know the one.
1.
And boop. Boop.
There we go. We'll go on JR's. What is everybody doing on this? Well, for us, it's a Saturday night.
Mhm.
And well, Friday night was all right for fighting. If you're watching Disney Plus, we'll get to that. There was a epic beatdown. Gonna put this out there from this point on. Potential spoilers. Read the title. It's gonna be right up here in the titles.
It's not potential spoilers. It's gonna be spoilers.
We're gonna spoil the hell out of it. We're gonna break down the 9 episodes that were Disney. I'm sorry, Marvel Studios' first official foray into television. It's done. It's complete. It's in the books. It is. Oh boy, we are going to get into it and talk about WandaVision. We'll call it season 1, but I'm sure it's going to be a one-off and stuff like that. We'll see where it goes from here. But before we do that, we'll get into some other things. But of course, as always, the guy over there, he's over there, he's over there, he's somewhere. He's flying around like he's Vision, man. He is the Dark King, J.R. Cabacungan. And man, you talk about the Dark King. We'll be talking about some dark stuff today. Ooh, boy.
Hey, everybody.
What up? What up? And as always, I am the voice of reason at Voice of Reason 23 on all social media platforms. I am Kevin Pillow. Of course, you can follow my my good buddy there at also not JR Comics 42 on Instagram. All other social media yet to come. It's under construction, like his MySpace page.
God, yeah.
But yeah, we're going to get to a full breakdown of WandaVision here in just a little bit. We've still got plenty of news and notes to get to. And we're going to let my my boy here, because he is going to be giving us supposedly by this time next week be giving us a full rundown of Raya the Last Dragon, because
I'm hoping
is officially launching as of
it happened. It
launched yesterday.
Yeah, it launched yesterday. So yeah, Raya and the Last Dragon just released yesterday, March 5th, one day after my birthday. What's up, guys?
Oh yeah, by the way, happy birthday to JR. It was his birthday this past week.
Yeah, man, thanks, my dude. But yeah, of course, it follows the vein. Of course, those who know or have seen any Disney film before, it follows the same vein of like cast of characters that feature, I guess at this point, the archetype of like I don't want to say Disney princesses, because that sounds like an archaic form now, an archaic name. They are still technically Disney princesses, but like more so follows a story of the Disney warrioress or female warrior. And yeah, it's more so told now from the South Asian perspective, and so that's cool. I'm willing. I'm definitely gonna want to see that happen. It features a lot of South Asian persuasion per se, and it does feature the movie features Kelly Marie Tran. Great, I'm happy that she's in movies again. Aquafina and Gemma Chan as well, Gemma Chan, as well as a bunch of other voice actors there. But again, Kelly Marie Tran, I'm really happy for her. I'm hoping that she gets more roles.
Yeah, and she did an interview. And I had forgotten that she was the lead vocal in the lead voice in this actor. I'll call it. You do have to act even with your voice. I forgot that she's Rhea essentially. And she was. I was wondering why she'd kind of popped up. Not that she has any reason to pop up. I mean, like I said, I actually enjoyed the character of Rose in the Star Wars franchise. Everyone's like, what is she needed for? And I'm like,
she was there to
why not? Just why not? She's a cool character. She's a great actress. I don't think anything wrong with it. If you had a problem with her, it was poor writing and poor directing. But I had no problem with the character. I have no problem with her as an actor. Yeah, I saw her pop up, and she even they kind of asked her. I think it was, I can't remember which magazine it was, but someone asked her about Star Wars, and she'd kind of like brush it off, like I don't want that. I want that role to define me. Though I think, lover or hater, when you're kind of really coming out of the chute and you start in Star Wars, man, Whether it's
I
good
mean,
or bad, it's going to launch a
yeah.
career. So
Yeah, it is. It's just really cool to see her in more films. Granted, I've said before too. Well, I made it known a couple of podcasts ago that I'm hoping that a lot of these actors that came from Star Wars, they're not pigeonholed into certain films. Like I remember we talked about
John
Boyega,
Boyega, yeah,
John Boyega, as well as like he's gonna be given the black role, and now we see, granted, Kelly Marie Tran, even though apps awesome, she's I'm thinking, yeah, I think I read up she's Thai, and that the specifically the character is Thai. So cool, you have a predominantly Asian cast, and so a predominantly Asian set of characters, and so it'd be great to have Asian cast, and so that's cool. I'm just really hoping that this isn't the start of a pigeonholing, technique that Hollywood has a tendency to do, and that you get more roles after this, man. So, because it's really freaking cool. We got Aquafina because Aquafina is freaking amazing. I love her and all her stuff. And Gemma Chan, I've heard of the name before. I'm pretty sure I've seen a bunch of other stuff that she's done, but I just can't think of the face at the moment and who she and what she has done afterwards. But
Gemma
yeah,
Chan.
yeah, Jim. Oh wait, never. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Of course, she was
Dude,
Crazy Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah,
She's one of the main characters in
yeah,
Crazy
yeah,
Rich
yeah,
Asians. She is going
yeah.
to
I
be.
remember.
She
She's
is
the awesome freaking villain.
also
Yeah,
my boy.
she's in Eternals. Oh snap!
She's an Eternal. She's Cersei.
She was in Captain Marvel. Who was she in Captain Marvel?
Uh, Minerva.
Oh, okay, okay. I remember her.
Is she
That's
the one
that's
that's with? Isn't she the one with that's with Jude Law's crew?
yeah, yeah.
And
Which is
she's a
interesting.
sniper.
She's a sniper, which is interesting because like I don't. How are they gonna? This is the first time that I've seen where a character, with an actress or an actor who really
Two.
no, but like in the same MCU universe,
Yes, and has played
really
two separate characters.
who?
The woman who dang, I knew you were gonna ask me. Hold up,
Yeah.
hold up. I want to get my facts straight.
Okay, you as
Uh,
you look her up, I'll just give my little thing. I thought, yeah, it's just interesting. Maybe like I've like she didn't play, of course, a big pivotal role in
no,
Captain America, of course not. But like the Eternals right afterwards, really, that is gonna be interesting. Unless she's playing the exact same role, which I don't think so.
no, she's playing Cersei.
Yeah,
So it's a lead. She's a major part of the Eternals. She's a god.
that's gonna be crazy, dude. That is
Uh,
wow. Okay, okay, okay. I
why
dig
is it
it.
not coming up?
She is gonna be Cersei. That oh my god, yeah, I have that cover. What am I doing? I'm being a noob right now. Goodness gracious. But yeah, as Kevin finds that out.
Al Alfre Woodard.
Okay.
Woodard. You know her. She's been in 12 Years a Slave. She
Yeah.
was in Annabelle.
Okay.
But she is also known as she was Miriam. She was the mother of
Of
the young man who died that led to the Sokovia Accords in
oh
Civil War. She's the woman in the hallway that meets with
yeah.
Tony Stark.
Okay.
Now, she's played a second role who was
Mm.
a female lead in a official, unofficial Marvel Cinematic Universe tie-in TV show.
Oh, was she in Shield?
No, she was Mariah Dillard in Luke Cage.
I,
She was the part of my friend. She was the mean bitch. She owned the club.
oh,
She was cousins with
fuck.
Diamondback. I mean,
She
not Diamondback
was.
with
Yeah. No.
Cottonmouth.
Yeah. Cottonmouth. Oh shit, she was.
She was brutal in that
Oh my
role.
gosh, she
She
was
was so
amazing.
good. Oh, so Alfre Woodard played two different characters officially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can't think of
That's
anybody else
right.
who's played two roles, played two seperate roles. Oh, take
That's
that.
fucking
Well,
right.
there is someone who technically played two separate roles. Another deep dive
Mm-hmm.
is in the Howling Commandos, and I gonna have to look it up. There was
Mm-hmm.
another. There's been a few. I think there's been at least two or three that have played that have been the same actor has played two separate characters within the official canon.
universe.
Kenneth Choi played Jim Morietta from. You also know him from Wolf of Wall Street, but he was also Principal Morietta in the Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, it is canon that Principal Morietta is the grandson of the Howling Commando, who he plays. He plays himself. He plays his grandson and his grandfather, basically, if that makes any sense. Two separate characters. One of them is the Howling Commando, the original Howling Commando from Jim Morietta. He actually appeared also as a member of the Howling Commandos in alongside Peggy Carter in Agent Carter. As well as a flashback scene in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I think was like in season 2 or season 3. But there's been a handful of characters, not a handful, there's been at least 2 or 3 actors who have played 2 separate roles. One usually is a bit role, and then another. So if you can remember anybody, if anybody else can remember any, hit us up on social media at PS Comics I Love You on Facebook or Instagram. PS Comics I Love You on Twitter. Or you can hit us up on email. Everything's below, or comment in the YouTube video if you're watching. But
big ups to Kevin, my guys. Like he did the
don't mess with me in the Marvel Cinematic. Don't mess with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Big ups to Kevin, my guys. So there you go. Like that's a tidbit that I didn't even know of. I only thought, of course, the only Cap America. When I thought of like, oh, okay, maybe playing the same actor or play the same actor playing 2 roles per se in a Marvel movie. But I'm guessing we're gonna have a lot more of that role. It'd be interesting. It'd be way more interesting.
They keep hiring everybody, and it's to the point they're gonna run out of characters, and they're gonna need them to play multiple.
Which is definitely a good thing to have. That's a good problem to have in most cases, specifically too, where we have like a lot of actresses who've have had these small roles with Marvel to begin with, and now it's looking like they're getting bigger roles over time. Great. Awesome. That means they have a great relationship, a working relationship with Marvel and with Kevin Feige. And like, definitely give him a chance. We'll give you a bigger role in freaking Eternals, where you're hanging out with Robb Stark and Jon Snow and freaking the Tomb Raider herself, Laura Croft. Are you serious? Heck yeah. So that's cool. Another movie that came out this week, guys, is Coming to America. That one finally released on that finally released on March 4th, and it's on Amazon Prime. And I actually haven't watched it. I'm definitely going to watch it sometime this week or sometime this following week. Saturday for us, and so the next week. I'm hoping it has some similarities to the original. I've heard already some reviews by people saying that, oh man, it just retreads a lot of the original. Granted, the original was a cult following, is a cult hit, and that it's been like, I think the last one came in like 20, 30 years ago. And so it's good to have a retelling with a lot of the original cast, because this is generally what made people fall in love with the original.
I forgot another one. There's two other people I just remembered. Sorry, I had to figure it out. Mahershala Ali also played.
That's right.
He played
the brother. He played
Cottonmouth.
He's gonna play Blade. Yeah,
he's playing Blade. We forgot the most obvious one.
What?
He played 22 different characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Did? Wait.
Yeah. Dude, it's the most obvious one. One actor played multiple roles, officially canon within the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You're talking about Stan?
Stan Lee played 22 different characters within the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm about to say, like, you talk about Stan.
And it's so funny as I'm looking at and going back again, I'm not trying to derail you more JR. We're gonna get back right in. I'm looking at Gemma Chan playing Minerva, and I'm like, bro, dude, she's right there, just with blue face. She's a Kree. So it's so obvious. But and she, you know what? Just like she in Crazy Rich Asians kind of comes across, and I know for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil anything, but she does come across as a kind of a really stone cold bitch at the very beginning of the movie, and by the end things are different. She plays this role too. She's very, very ice cold. She is methodic in this movie. It's one of the few bright spots. I know a lot of people kind of crapped on Captain Marvel. But there is a lot of bright spots in it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hate to say it as we sit here and go like, oh, I forgot she was in it. She actually, looking back, she was very good in it. So
Yeah, she was good. But
going back to Coming to America.
Going back to Coming America, guys, it's just I'm hoping that it's a retelling, not just a retelling, but also a small continuation of the original story. Granted, for those of y'all who are too young to remember it, technically I wasn't born when it came out, but I did watch it when I was much younger in my youth. It was the original Wakanda. It was the original Wakanda story for a lot of us because that you're talking about, you're talking about Eddie Murphy, who was this very young and enthusiastic and very fit and very a very regal, prince of a of a kingdom, based in Africa. And yeah, he goes to America to find, to find a wife that he wants, that he wants to have a relationship with, rather than, someone who has come in and just basically be married for the crown per se. And I'm hoping it has a lot of a lot of, well, not just the humor, but more so the heart of the original film. You know, it's gonna be cool. I'm hoping to see a lot of older characters. I wanted, for someone who has watched the original, I want to know what happened in the old story, right? His quote unquote old wife, and the story behind that. But yeah, I'll let you guys know. Hopefully, I'll get both these movies finished by the start of our next podcast next week, guys. So yeah, those bunch of movies came out. Those are two particularly movies that came out this week that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to watching. And into our next news and notes, my guys, is something that's very close to my heart. For those of us who have watched anime or read manga, Hellsing, the original Hellsing manga, is being adapted into a live action movie, and it's being screenwritten by Derek Kolstad, and he's teaming up with Amazon Studios, guys. Derek Kolstad, of course, is one of the writers for John Wick. He's written a couple of stories for the next upcoming Disney Plus TV series Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that
Bro,
he's
I
actually,
cannot wait.
dude, and he's a big fan of the original Hellsing. Granted, I hope, as a fan myself of Hellsing, I'm hoping they have the Hellsing Ultimate adaptation, which came out a couple years after. Oh, like I think they ended in 2011, a couple years after the original series. Because good God, if they adapt the Hellsing Ultimate version, it is gonna be freaking fire, my guys. So, of course, for those who don't know, Hellsing is loosely based around the Dracula mythos and follows the primary protagonist story of Alucard and his subjugation. Yes, subjugation. He is a slave under the Hellsing family organization. Alucard is a vampire, my people, and he's actually under the rule and or follows his master Integra Hellsing, the sole heir to the Hellsing family corporation. Yes, he set forth to annihilate all the evils and evil monsters of that prey upon the weak and denizens of modern England, aka London. So, yeah, the first time I saw that, man, I was super excited. I'm having a lot of holding on a lot of hope for Amazon Studios right now, because they're coming out with a bunch of properties for live action stuff, as well as comic book stuff. I think also they're doing, no, Netflix is doing Jupiter Legacy. I just read that one out, but they're doing I saw a lot of stuff for Invincible. They're doing an animated series about Invincible, and that's a super bloody and gory comic book that's hopefully gonna be very much like its core. And I'm hoping that we'll see a lot of that stuff that unfolds during the wars that of that comic book per se. What else? Yeah, I'm just hoping. I'm hoping they keep Alucard his his demeanor. He's not your sparkly vampire. He's not even like the same vampires you would see in Western media. He is an actual gruesome vampire. Like Helsing in general is just it has Nazis in it. It has literal Nazis, literal Nazis, vampire Nazis even. It
And
has
this is the same property that Hugh Jackman played the lead in the.
no, not
Okay.
that Helsing, my guy.
Okay.
Helsing, that one is
Van Helsing.
yeah, that's Van. This series specifically is depicted around the Van Helsing mythos,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay.
Because it has Dracula in it. But the Helsing family came from, of course, Van Helsing, and this last sole heir is Integra. It's a girl. It's a woman who basically heads up the Helsing family, and they are part of one of the defense forces for London under the Queen. And yeah, what happens that she found Alucard. I'm not gonna spoil how she found him, but she found him as a small child, and he basically swore loyalty to her and decimated her enemies. Brutally, gruesomely decimated her enemies. Like someone was trying to kill her as a child, right, with a gun,
Yeah.
and and then freaking Alucard literally tore the top half of his head off and drank his brains.
Okay.
Right? I'm talking about gruesome, bro. I'm talking about like vampires who like have dead babies hanging from their mouths, stuff like gruesome Japanese type shit, bro. I'm pretty sure we won't see dead babies or
No.
carcasses are unlocked. But like, if y'all have watched the Netflix Castlevania series and how bloody and gory that is, yeah, that all that blood and gore was actually inspired from Helsing. Like the creator of that one specifically noted Helsing and all the other gory Japanese stuff as like, yeah, I'm inspired from that. Let's do Castlevania. So yeah, guys, that was gonna be cool. On and also on talking about, villains. Villains, because Helsing definitely is a villain, but he's under the guise of good. Captain Marvel 2, the villains reported for Captain Marvel 2, and it's a guy named Michael Korvac. Hey, Kevin, do you know who Michael Korvac is?
I don't know much about him. I know that if I'm not mistaken, I kind of stumbled upon. I'll have to look it up, but I'm almost positive it was Korvac. But when the Guardians of the Galaxy movie was going to come out, much like a lot of people didn't know shit about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
And the one episode, literally the only stuff that I could get in a visual medium. Let me see. I'm trying to look it up. Ah, damn it! Learning how to type on this new keyboard that I've got. I'm almost positive it was in the Marvel Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon that I believe was on Disney XD. Michael Korvac appeared in an episode, and the character didn't know he had powers, and the Guardians knew he had powers, and they were trying to track him down. And in the meantime, the Guardians try to track him down. He becomes agitated and becomes he mutates into his powers. But according to the Marvel wiki, he has the ability to manipulate space and time, and the ability to project energy. So he's similar to Carol Danvers in the being able to shoot lasers from her hands, basically.
Yeah.
But the ability, if they go with that, and this is based on his actually based on his cartoon powers.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up on the official Marvel wiki, but yeah, he was an interesting character because I said that was my first introduction to him. He's a kind of a B-side character, but I think he is, because of his involvement with primarily the cosmic level of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
He is, like I said, he is kind of a B-side B-side character, but like I said, don't know a lot about him. But when I saw his name pop up on consideration to be the villain for Captain Marvel 2, I was very much intrigued, because Captain Marvel, it sounds like to me, and we'll get into it here in our WandaVision breakdown, is I have a feeling that Captain Marvel 2 is still going to take place very much within the cosmos.
Yeah.
That we're not going to see Carol Danvers as the earthbound superhero that kicked Tony Stark's ass in Civil War II in the comic books. I think we're going to see her bouncing around from planet to planet, dealing with the goings on of deep space problems, which I think, and JR will get to, is going to lead to the biggest of the bads within the Marvel universe in Phase
God,
4. Our new Thanos, I think, is going to be Galactus. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Carol budding up with the Guardians, possibly budding up with Thor. We know that Chris Hemsworth seems very interested in remaining within the Marvel universe. So the cosmos is very much is going to be under distress. So I could see Korvac becoming a huge part. I think it's. I mean, like I said, we won't know until we get official news from Feige. But kind of break it down for Korvac. First appearance, Giant Size Defenders number 3, January 1975, created by Steve Gerber and Jim Starlin. Of course, Jim Starlin, we know, one of the architects to the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War sagas. Arguably one of the top 5, maybe top 10 artists and creators of all time in all comic books. His alter ego, I mean, we know him. He's just known as Korvac. His alter ego is Marco Korvac. He's a species. He's actually a cyborg. Brilliant abilities, brilliant computer scientist, master strategist, energy manipulation via specialized computer module, wielder of the power cosmic. So again, the official Marvel wiki also has down kind of the same thing, the ability to manipulate possibly space and time.
Man, is granted, I'm not a huge I don't know all of his history, but I do know that he comes from different Earth, somewhere like around the year 2900 something. and that he comes into his own power by like basically taking or acquiring the power cosmic. Of course, those comic book nerds of us who know what the power cosmic is, it comes from the one, the only Galactus, right? Yeah. Power cosmic is infused to any one of Galactus's heralds, basically, right? Like you're talking about Silver Surfer, you're talking about Beta Ray Bill, you're talking about I think Beta Ray Bill was once a herald of Galactus. You're talking about even though it was for a short time, you're talking about Thor who was under the power cosmic power, became a herald of Galactus. That was like within the last year to 2 years now. And so you talk about an incredibly strong, from the comic books, a very strong character who can easily take on Captain Marvel by herself, even though she herself has been enhanced from in the current MCU timeline. He's been given powers from the cosmic cube. And so that's a good way of possibly having a character, a villain, or her opposite, her antagonist. I can't say villain, but her antagonist be on the same fighting field as her, right? One of my biggest pet peeves from the original Captain Marvel's from the origin story was that there was never really anyone to kind of fight her. She was never really under any type of quote unquote duress, right? There was maybe one small thing where she was in a different plane of existence, the end scene, but like honestly, she was never in any threat, right? Even in her role in Endgame, where I feel like she was more powerful and she was given a better treatment of her character there, it still felt like if Thanos and her went one-on-one without the Infinity Gauntlet, she would take him, right?
Yeah, without the Infinity Gauntlet, she would probably burst right through. It was good. That's the problem that I had with her, is they wanted and again, this is so easy for two men to have this argument, and I'm going to go there, guys. Is they were so desperate to have a all-powerful female that they in the woke hashtag Me Too, no more time, whatever the hashtag is for the week, time up, that they were so desperate for this female pedestal that it would never live up to the expectations, and they kind of pigeonholed the character into being almost the almighty. And the problem that I had with, and I looked past it, I had fun because the end 45 minutes of Endgame were phenomenal. But when
Yeah.
she comes crashing down and single-handedly takes down uh, Thanos' ship, and then
Mm.
gets headbutted by Thanos, albeit he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, but gets headbutted by him. And if that's the same power, if this is the same woman who just crashed to a ship and he headbutts her, he shouldn't bounce off her head.
Yeah.
He should be able to, he should have his head caved in by her just sitting there and just taking it.
Yeah.
But I get it. He's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, blah blah blah.
Uh,
But that's the only problem I had
will
is that
say,
they
yeah. I will say, just to, this is, of course, this is the the battle nerd in me, right? Where, like, who can actually fight. I'm pretty sure he'd be able, like, I'm pretty sure Thanos in that sense, right, is
yeah.
stronger durability wise than the spaceship that she crashed through. Granted, yeah, I mean, like, they definitely amped up her abilities as she needed to be. She was supposed to be on the pedestal as the person to take
Yeah.
on, to holster and to, to move the Marvel genre forward, or the Marvel MCU forward the next however long they have that character. But yeah, I think she was given the quote unquote spot too early. Like, it felt very much like I kept on going back to this um to this type of comparison where, like, in the original Captain Marvel movie, right? It felt like she was part of the Shield. She was Roman Reigns, right?
Yeah.
While
Wow, that is a
while
great comparison.
yeah, while her other two, the other two were basically the ones that kind of hold, not to kind of hide her acting or her portrayal in that. She's a great actor. I've seen her in other movies. She's a great actor. I just don't know why it's so incredibly different this go around. And it feels like what she was in Endgame was a much stronger and much more better representation of who she could be and of her powers at that point. Because honestly, at that point, I think she was Pulsar. Pulsar in the comics is an incredibly strong version of Captain Marvel, and I think, all right, cool, that's who we have, right? That's her imbued
Exactly.
with the power, with the power cube. That's her imbued with basically the um it's not the strength universe. It's something else with Pulsar, but like, she was incredibly stronger version of that, right? And Captain Marvel in comics can be seen to go in and out of that state, basically going Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
If you break it down, and in Endgame, it felt like it was when Roman Reigns kind of went solo, right? But was pushed by WBE to have that, just to kind of be pushed and, probably to be the person, to be the guy. It felt that way. So they gave her a strong showing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that character. It's just that for me, which sucks, is that I've seen her portrayal in so many other movies. She's a great freaking actress. She's a great actor. She's able to play the strong role without being like, I'm strong, I can fucking destroy everyone here type of thing. Type of like, I understand she has a very dry level of sarcasm that people tend to, like, kind of show her, because one, she's constantly like this, right? I've seen her dry sarcasm before in other films too. It's just that, like, her first outing with it felt like a bad first step. And that,
Yeah.
from that first step, that first impression, just kind of cascaded into what we have now, with people hoping that, some people hoping that she freaking be given the boot out of Marvel, which I think sucks if they do. I actually want her to
Yeah.
continue,
I want her to
because,
stay too.
yeah, because for me, the one way we could probably bring this back is, hey, have her go heal. That would be good. That would be a good thing for her. Not more so heal in the sense of, like, oh, just,
Become a
just destroy.
villain.
Not that
Yeah.
sense, but like, the heal in the sense of, like, all right, then, if it's
Civil War two.
Earth first, yeah. Civil War 2. No, this is my way, the highway. I am that Captain Marvel now. Yeah, that would be
She's
good. That would make sense.
have her almost go Steve Austin.
Yeah.
If you're going to use the wrestling terminology, is that, Austin was neither a face nor a heel.
Mm.
He was a heel in the point that he didn't listen to anybody. He did things his own way, and he was going to give you the middle finger and say, "Fuck you, kiss my ass. I'm going to do it this way." But when he was doing that, he was taken out. He was getting cheered for it,
Yeah.
and they had him. Okay, if you're going to kick somebody's ass and do it your own way, then at least kick the boss's ass, kick
Yeah.
the big bad, or I mean, obviously he made, just to go chase that rabbit in wrestling. Stone Cold made Vince McMahon well, maybe Bret Hart did, but no, great comparison. When
Yeah.
when they walked Brie Larson onto the stage in Hall H, Kevin Feige says, "This is
Great
our
pop.
Carol Danvers."
Yeah.
Huge pop.
Yeah.
Most of it was for the outfit she was wearing, because Brie Larson is not hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
But she's a talented actress. She was nominated
Truly.
she'd been nominated for an Academy Award. I believe she may have even won a Golden Globe.
I think so too.
She'd
Yeah.
been acting since since a child, and she was very good at what she did. Yes, I've heard that she has a dry sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
that comes across as her being a bitch.
Yeah.
But to me, same thing. Look at the flip side. Roman Reigns comes in at FCW. Dude's a freaking beast. He has it. He looks like $1,000,000. He comes from the Anoa'i lineage, so he's got The Rock. He's got the Usos. He's got the Wild Samoans, Afonseca. He's got the High Chief Peter Maivia. He's got Rocky Johnson. He's got Yokozuna in his family tree. The dude's got wrestling in his veins. He is not going to fail. And then they're like, dude's $1,000,000. Oh man, this guy's, you don't need to strap a rocket to his ass. He's gonna go to the moon no matter what.
Yeah.
And just like Brie Larson, dude, her and as Carol Danvers, I remember looking at my comics and I'm going, it's her. It looks just like her.
Yeah.
And then one night in Philly, they decided to make Roman Reigns the winner of the Royal Rumble, not Daniel Bryan. And just like Carol Danvers, she appeared in her first movie and wah, 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 wah. Now, could it be that it is determined that Brie Larson, much like Roman Reigns, can execute? I think so, because Roman can't cut a promo to save his ass. Brie, for some reason, the whole point of acting is not just blocking and putting on a costume. It is being able to take someone's script, take someone's words, and put them to visual motion.
Yeah.
And she was so robotic in Captain Marvel. And I think a lot of it was bad direction or bad producing, like Roman Reigns with the WWE. So
just to kind of to end off this note on the Brie Larson bit, I feel like also it also kind of stands back to the year before that we had Wonder Woman, and that was right during the Me Too movement, right? That was right in the thick of it, and so people propelled Wonder Woman as the one to basically, to spearhead, to be the image of like, this is a strong woman. This is who we are now, and that's who they are now, and who we are now. And so I'm like, cool. And I feel like part of the story behind Captain Marvel and why that was kind of pushed and kind of like seen as that, like, yeah, okay, one, they're on it, sure, that people can say that's on the trend of the Me Too and stuff, but two, like, they got to have Marvel and themselves got to have their own statement on this too. What's the best way to have their own statement? Have Captain Marvel be the one, right? I feel like it was semi as in part of strategy of like, all right, cool, DC has Wonder Woman, great character, great long-standing character. Let's have our own. Let's put our foot in the door and say, hey, we have strong women characters too. Granted, and of course, before with Marvel, if people don't know, Marvel for a long freaking period of time, right, didn't have the quote unquote, very rounded women characters in Marvel. We've had Black Widow, we've had up to that point Wanda, right? Before she was a Scarlet Witch. and they were the best well-rounded characters. No, of course you can have, if you're gonna have Black Widow, let's just be honest, there's a reason why they put Scarlett Johansson in a black tight-fitting suit, right? There's a reason, and it's a sexist thing to say, but hey, that's that part about it, right? But then when you have Wonder Woman on the opposite end, DC, you have a full story, you have a full recognition of like, hey, this is an Amazonian. She's very much within her own clothes, within her own skin, and this is who she is. She's not just for you to look and gawk at, not just for that. And Marvel, I feel it was finally time for them to put their foot in the thing and say, hey, all right, cool, we have our own strong women too. Granted, of course, we had Gamora too, but even in that sense, she was one of an ensemble cast, so there was no focal point. When you have Brie Larson there, we say, hey, Brie Larson's the girl. She's our girl. She'll be our are stable as, hey, we're part of the Me Too movement as well. And I feel they stumbled in that sense because like it was not, I can't say too much, but more so like they didn't hit the landing on it because
No.
like it just it was so stiff. Yeah, it felt her acting and her portrayal of Captain Marvel was so stiff for me. Especially when like if they were going for a serious movie, she'd be right in there. No, the majority of that movie was super funny. It was supposed to be like a comedic tone, right? Like that's why you had Nick Fury in there. That's why you had Sam Jack in there. That's why you had so many of these characters. That's why the scrolls were freaking like were seen as the victims and is like also the funny people too,
Yeah.
right? And so like it was like one part comedy and another part semi serious, but like it wasn't really that. And it just, to me, it felt like a very mismatched performance on the sense of Brie Larson's part, because she was supposed to be serious in one second and funny in the next.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how are we going here? But other than that, some brighter news, my dude.
Well, yeah, it ties right in because I have, you talk about
Yeah.
female leads, female characters that Marvel has done a fantastic job, and I cannot wait to see what Kevin Feige does to get his hands on another great female character, and that is Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, a part of the X-Men, a part of the mutants, and that is exactly what the rumor is going around that Kevin Feige is going to call it. We do not have the established X-Men yet, but we can have genetic mutation, which I think we have already seen, so to speak. I think that we have seen mutants before us on Earth within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I honestly believe that Pietro Maximoff and Wanda Maximoff both had the mutant gene in them, and that it was unlocked through Strucker's experiments, which again we'll get to in just a little bit, talking about WandaVision here just momentarily. But I like it. Someone goes, "Oh, when are we going to see the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?" And people don't realize is that you can't just go boom, have the actual, and I'm using the actual phrase, not just the mutants within the X-Men. I'm talking about the actual team. You can't have a movie called, and people will say, well, then why do you have a movie called The Avengers? And I'm like, well, the Avengers Initiative had already been set up within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, what about the Fantastic Four? I honestly believe that the characters within the Fantastic Four movie that is going to come out in the next couple of years, I think those characters, those four core characters, are going to be established before they have their own standalone movie. I honestly believe that they will appear within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that would go like, oh, okay, so that it can. So having a movie called Tomorrow, we're a production of X-Men 1. Okay. The layman who has not watched the Fox universe, that has not read a comic book, and has just gone from Iron Man 1 to WandaVision or whatever we were going to have, are going to go, who are the X-Men? Why are they called the X-Men? And to call them, just to have a franchise just called the Mutants. To me, okay, I see why they're doing it. At least that's my theory. But here's my problem. A couple of years ago, Kevin Feige begrudgingly greenlit a movie project that was going to be a part of Phase 2, I believe, called the Inhumans. Reason being, the chairman of Marvel Entertainment said, Kevin, not me, Feige, I need an answer to Fox's mutants. I want the Inhumans. And Feige says, no, it doesn't fit. I have no reason to have them. I have no problem with introducing Inhumans. I have no problem introducing Terrigenesis and whatnot, but no. And he fought and fought and fought, and then he greenlit the movie, but it never took off. And of course, they were inevitably introduced by Jeff Loeb and Marvel Entertainment in the Marvel TV side. Of course, you had Daisy Johnson and others become, quote, Inhumans, going through Terrigenesis. Yes, Quake, Daisy Johnson, aka Sky, aka Quake, is an Inhuman. Her mother, an Inhuman. Inevitably, her father within the show also became an Inhuman. I think he did. There's quite a few characters that went. But then, of course, they had the much lauded Inhumans TV show, which now lasted one season.
Not even a season.
No, it went the full run. It was a short season. I think it was like 8 or 9 episodes, and it was meant to be like a half a season, and then if it got picked up, so they left it open ended, but they also closed the book in case it was, because I think they like halfway during production they got like, hey, by the way, this is gonna be it. And so they wrote it in a conclusive manner with it kind of at the same time still open-ended that these characters could still exist. So my problem with the quote, the mutants, is it sounds to me too much like the Inhumans. And there was no, I don't think there ever was a, prior to X-Men, Uncanny X-Men #1, I don't think there were the mutants. Had mutants ever been introduced into Marvel canon?
No. The MCU particularly?
No. I'm talking about the Marvel. Like, when was the first mutant in Marvel comics?
You talk about if you talk about the original X-Men, they came back in like 1960 something, no, like 1970 something, I think, and that was just the original, X-Men of Iceman, Jean, Beast, and Cyclops, and with Professor X. That was the original. That was it. And then like they got through some weird like retelling of the story, not like the same like reprints of the story until like what, all new X-Men or something like that. And it was very much the same stories for a good number of time, and they just reprinted the same stories over and over and over again until basically, from what I remember, freaking all new Giant Size X-Men, not all new, since Giant Size X-Men came out. And it was very much that, brand where like people just wanted, Avengers. People just wanted Thor or Spider-Man or Iron Man, Captain America, right? And then X-Men came to be, and it was there, but it wasn't really picked up until much later. Well, much later in comparison to like at the time. But it was just X-Men. There wasn't necessarily there. I can't. Don't quote me on saying if there was X-Men, if there were mutants after X-Men, if it was adapted into it. But like it wasn't until for me it was much later for them to be to be seen as a global thing, or to be renowned as it is today, of being that X-Men were about minorities, and so you should pick it up, guys.
And so I did a little research. Yes, the first appearance, meaning from the moment comics were printed, the first named mutant, the first official mutant, came in September of 1963 with X-Men #1. So in theory, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby introduced the world to mutants via X-Men #1. So they right off the bat established the X-Men universe. Now it has been retconned that Namor the Submariner, who appeared in Marvel Comics #1 from Timely Comics, Namor the Submariner technically was a mutant. That they have retconned his birth or whatever, that he was considered to be a mutant. So that would basically, in time wise, would make the first appearance of a mutant in Marvel Comics #1. But officially, the first appearance of a mutant in comic book form would be in September of 1963 with X-Men #1. So I don't know how to feel about just being called the mutants, but I am liking the idea that he's taking his time, and that he is going to put mutants in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He said in 2019, shortly after the like JR has in the notes here, March 20th, 2019, the Fox Disney merger was finalized. And 2 months later, or 2 or 3 months later, Hall H, San Diego Comic-Con, which by the way, sadly is not going to take place this year. We'll get to that. We'll throw that in here in just a moment. But he said on stage, he goes, we have a lot planned for phase 4. We're going to introduce new characters, new villains, new stories, and possibly some mutants. And so everyone's like, whoa, what? And he kind of just brushed it off, and then got into, of course, announcing what's over here, WandaVision, announced Falcon and the Winter Soldier, announced
Yeah.
some of the movies that he did, and of course inevitably announced Blade.
Hmm?
So not only were he's like, whoa, we're gonna get mutants and we're gonna get vampires, cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
yeah, like I remember that conversation, or I remember that talk, because as a producer, as a fan, yeah, it sucks. We want mutants now, right? We want all this content now, because we're fans, right? But as an organizer, as seeing from as being in the backgrounds of certain things like this, it takes so much time, specifically when like you have specifically when you have like other shows in the limelight, right? I remember that time too. You know, they just announced, yeah, the first TV shows, right? Well, before mutants we can come out, we gotta do WandaVision, we gotta do Bucky and the Winter Soldier. We got to do Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We got to do all these other shows first. And people at the time are like, no, screw that. Who the hell wants to watch WandaVision? Who the hell wants to watch? Who the hell wants to watch that? Just give us mutants now, right? And that was at the time. Granted, we've had hindsight now. We have hindsight bias now, and you look at it and say, well, clearly this was the better decision. And all I can say to this, like, yo, just give it time. Give it time. It took us 5 years to get to Avengers 1. Right? It took us 5 years to get to Avengers 1, 2 years after that, 2 to 3 years after that, Avengers 2. And then basically we got to Endgame, and we got to Infinity War and Endgame in the span of 10 years. So it takes time. And I understand we come in that we were now in this era of like instant gratification. We're like, we want things now. You announce it now. All right, then I want it next year type of thing, right? I want it next month type of thing. Yo, X-Men, all this X-Men and mutants, just let it cool. Just let it chill. I want to see what they would do with it, right? I want them to basically give us a reason why we should be fans of Magneto. Why we should be fans of Professor X. And although the Fox version of the X-Men was a total, toss up in certain cases, right? I
yeah,
absolutely enjoyed the origin story and continual story behind Magneto. I thoroughly enjoyed, seeing that different side of Xavier. I actually enjoyed the retelling and redoing of Jennifer Lawrence's character, Mystique.
yeah.
I like that she was, a good, semi-good character, and that she was one of the founding members of X-Men. All right, cool. That's an interesting way to tell this story. But then, hey, that was a good way to do it. That's a good way of, and again, it was the introduction of newer characters, of newer stars at the time. Granted, out of those three, the biggest one, of course, was probably not, Jennifer Lawrence, sure, but I guess the more serious actor would probably be what's his name? Play Magneto.
Oh, Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender. Like Michael Fassbender was the person, like was the one that had the accolades. Even though Jennifer Lawrence had, she had the Golden Globe and I think Emmy, not Emmy, the
No, she
Oscar
won an Oscar. She won an Oscar
for
for
Silver Linings Playbook.
Silver Linings
Silver Linings
Playbook.
Playbook. Yeah, but like people took it seriously because one, you have Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence and James McAvoy. At this was back in 2011. So
Yeah,
just let it sit, let it take time, let them try to flesh out their roster, and we'll just see how it goes. I like the term. I think it won't be called the mutants in the end. I think it'll be called something desperate, something probably very different. But like
or
I'm glad it's not an emphasis on just the X-Men,
or do
because
this
yeah.
is like we said before, and we'll get into here in a moment.
Mm.
Is let it be known, and it plants the seed for so much more to come if they chose to do Days of Future Past again, which I don't think you can beat what they've already done, which Bryan
Okay.
Singer did with Days of Future Past. And already say they want to do Age of Apocalypse and they want to
Yeah.
introduce
Do
the
it
real
right.
apocalypse.
Do it right.
Is just sprinkle it in there.
Yeah.
Let let Wolverine appear in a Hulk movie. Mm-hmm.
Hulk 91. Come on now.
Let Charles Xavier show up. Just have him run into Doctor Strange or something like that. Have Storm appear in Wakanda. Have these characters pop up,
Yeah.
which they're talking about doing also in I thought actually was it Captain Marvel 2 or one of the other movies is they're actually this is the thing funny that they're going to do they ended up doing Michael Korvac
Mhm.
is the thought in Captain Marvel 2
Mhm.
was having Rogue
Mm.
be
The
the
villain.
villain,
Yeah.
which Rogue's first appearance, which I think I have, was she was a villain, I believe,
Yeah. Yeah.
first. So, but I like that idea. Is like,
It'll be interesting if they actually reveal the Illuminati first. That would be a good thing to see. Where you would
and
have, you would have this like, let's say out of nowhere, and of course this is just a crazy fan theory from me. Let's say you have Doctor Strange at the end of the events of Multitude of Madness, right? Or Multiverse of Madness. He goes into a small room with like, I think, the five, like a round table with like 5 6 chairs, and each of those chairs are like represented by, like, Reed Richards comes to the table, Professor X comes to the table, Namor comes to the table, freaking whoever the inheritor of the Black Panther will come to the table, and then you have the Sorcerer Supreme himself will be at the table. That's a great way to. That's probably a good way to show who are the power heads in this, and probably a good way to probably possibly hint at the future. But hey, that's just that. Marvel has so much house money in their
mhm.
in their in their pocket right now, dude, that they could do whatever, man. They could do whatever they want. And for us as fans, especially us, you and I, who read the comics, who know the history on a good portion of things, who can see that, all right, cool, at least they're trying to make a plausible and good effort of it, right? Because we've seen other studios, we've seen other IPs who want to do the, oh, we need to do this now moment, right? We need to have this our own universe literally the next year. We'll do one superhero movie and then we'll have everyone out the next year.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen that already. We've seen that with DC in its first 2 years. We've seen that with freaking what they try to do with the Mummy series, right? The Mummy, where they try to do, like, I think it was supposed to be this crazy monsters universe,
Was
multiverse type of thing.
they had a whole picture posted. They had a whole Comic-Con that they were prepared
Yeah,
to
yeah,
introduce.
yeah.
Oh,
Like, they were supposed to do, like, I think Doctor, no, what's that one, the what's it called, Doctor Hyde? I know Mr. Hyde and Jekyll
Dr.
Hyde.
Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Yeah.
They were supposed to do that, was supposed to be another movie from them, and then we've had the Godzilla verse with all its other kaijin. Now, granted, they've taken their time as well, and that's a better portion to do.
Oh yeah.
Uh, that's a better way. That's a better way to do things. But, like, we've already seen, uh, we shouldn't let. We should give Marvel the benefit of the doubt of doing the things their way, and having, people have been trying to follow what Marvel has been doing for years now. Let them do what they've do great, what they've originated at.
Yeah, and that's what I was
Period.
gonna say when you brought up the point earlier with the manga comics and with Helsing and them wanting to, and you're talking about like I can't remember who is that signed with Amazon. I know that Sony is doing some Spider-Man stuff with
Yeah.
Amazon.
Mm.
I know that they're going to do a Silk TV show for Amazon on
Mm.
Amazon, I believe.
Mm.
But don't do what Marvel did. Don't use
Mm.
that formula, but don't do what DC did.
Mm.
Don't
Mm.
try to go like, well, we're not going to do what Marvel did, but you know what? They did something pretty cool, and we're going to do a bunch of these movies, and then we're going to lead up into Justice League, and then have it want because there was no need, there was no want, there was no build.
Yeah.
We had Man of Steel, where
Mm.
Superman kicks the ass of General Zod.
Yeah.
We have Batman versus Superman,
Yeah.
where there really wasn't a villain. It
Mm-hmm.
was Lex Luthor all along building
Mm-hmm.
Doomsday, which was similar to what it was in the comics.
Yeah.
And the big bad villain doesn't debut until the last 20
15
30
minutes.
minutes of the movie. And first off, he was a gigantic, literal gigantic pile of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't look anything like the big bad villain from the comic book, which is one of the greatest villains ever drawn.
Mm-hmm.
I fight me on that. You look at Doomsday in the comic book form, and he is a gigantic rock badass
Yeah.
that, I mean, Darkseid is a character, great.
Darkseid,
Darkseid, whatever. I call it like I see it. Thanos, who gives a shit? Um Doomsday just looks bad as they did him so. I was so pissed because I'm a Superman guy, and that book, that series, Death of Superman, is what got me into comic books
yeah,
because Doomsday scared the shit out of me. I was
yeah,
11 at the time when I read Death of Superman. And was it 92? Maybe it was
yeah.
93, 94, whatever.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
92. It was 1992. It scared the shit out of me.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just
And
and the thing that sucked about that, particularly that movie, Small Rant, is that he didn't evolve right until his actual form, his last form with the jagged crystals at the end, until like the last 3 minutes of the movie, dude. Like
and
when they
even then
finally
they did
freaking
that
killed him.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's not have like we already in the span of the comic book movies, right? The this golden era of comic book movies, we already see the what to do, what shouldn't you do, and what you could possibly do within the span of what 3 movies, right?
Yeah.
Marvel's Avengers 2, um, Batman versus Superman, and Captain America 2, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen like the possibility of like how you properly propel your franchise forward by one, you first things first, you gotta let your movies just kind of sit and just breathe and just take its time. And they push freaking Zack. I keep on roasting Zack Snyder, but don't get me wrong, he under all of his shit, there's a brilliant filmmaker there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that like he just can't get out of his own way to just let things sit. And granted, of course, the studio behind him was probably pushing him to do all this other crap. He's supposed to make he like every single movie that he's done feels like 3 to 4 movies packed into one, right? And even with his Snyder cut, it's gonna probably feel like 4 movies packed into one. Don't know how that's gonna freaking go out, but then hey, we're
Exactly.
gonna watch it anyway. But like, yeah, just you, as a person, as a filmmaker in today's new age, where Marvel trends was gonna be everywhere, you're gonna have to let your film or your franchise or your IP just kind of sit and let people take it in. Period. If you want to have
Yeah.
something long lasting, long running, like what Marvel has done over the span of what 15 years now? No, long, yeah, like maybe 11 years now. No, 15. Let's
Yeah.
say 15. Let's go back to original Hulk 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just let it sit. Let it sit. And so on that note, by letting things sit and having it let us and having people kind of digest what is going along, we have sit and we have digested the last 9 episodes of WandaVision, my friend.
Well, real quick too, I want to point that
Yeah.
out. We did to put a bit of bad news before we get to all the good news. Officially, Comic Con International announced
Oh
earlier
yeah.
this week that San Diego Comic Con has been canceled for 2021. We already knew that
Ooh,
WonderCon
sucks.
was going to be canceled for 2021. They're going to do a virtual con like they did last year. A virtual con for WonderCon is going to be or WonderCon at home is going to be
Mm.
a lot more like SDCC at home we saw last July, which of course was one of the first episodes that we did, where it was probably like in the top first early 10 or 15 episodes we did. You can go back.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'll probably
Thank you.
share them on the tail end of this episode. I'll share the episode because we did a 3-part Comic Con series,
We did.
but
Mhm.
it sounds like to me they're going to do WonderCon at home. They're going to do
Yep.
an SDCC at home for 2021, but Comic Con very vaguely announced that there will be a small
Yeah.
in-person convention, most likely in San Diego
Yeah.
in November. That's all they said. Now,
Okay.
I will let it be known. I won't say how much my capacity is, but I do work for Comic Con International. I work for line management. I have no inside information. So people trying to hit me up saying, well, Kevin, don't you work at Comic Con? Yeah, but I don't work in CCI's front office. I work as a line coordinator. I make sure that people get into ballroom 20 safely and as efficiently as possible. That's as much as I get. I do have um, a little bit more knowledge. Like I knew about the cancellation of WonderCon,
Uh,
or I'm sorry, well, both WonderCon and Comic Con. I knew about the cancellation of those two conventions 15 minutes prior than the public knowing. That's all I got. So I don't know anything else. It was funny, was I posted something on social media earlier this week, and I got a text message from a buddy of mine saying, well, what do you know? And I'm like, it's right there, dude. That's from Comic-Con's website. He's like, would you work for him? I'm like, I don't work at the front office, dude. I host a podcast, bro. It's like, that's as much as I do. I'm just a comic book collecting nerd like the next person, dude. If I worked for CCI, I would not have to go through the rigmarole that I have to go through to get the things that I want to get at San Diego Comic-Con. But I'm bummed, Jared. You and I talked about this last week. Kind of our wish list of what we want to do, what we want to accomplish after COVID is over.
Yeah.
And the top of our list, go to movies and go to conventions. And I talked to our good friend Atner earlier this week. He said the same thing. He's like, bro, I cannot wait to go back to conventions. And I remember that I was on Wednesday. I think it was like the day before was when STCC announced that they were canceling. But though they weren't as efficient about it, they never officially said last year in 2020, they never officially said, by the way, we'll be back in 2021. They just left. They just left the dates that if things were normal, they left the dates in stone for the convention center for 2021. They never officially came out and said, hey, by the way, we'll see you in 2021. Now, in the press release from earlier this week, they did say, we will see you in 2022. Now, I think that San Diego Comic-Con, Comic-Con International knew what the state government of state of California was going to announce, which they announced yesterday. I'm sure they had to have known, but they knew there is no way in hell that they were going to get 250,000 people into the San Diego Convention Center safely and socially distanced. They had no plan. Not like Major League Baseball, not like the NBA, not like the National Hockey League, not like WWE and all the arenas that are going to host them, not like Disneyland, not like Knott's Berry Farm. They didn't have a plan in 6 months or actually less to be able to make a reasonable convention.
And it's smart. Oh, and just on that note, just real quick, shout out to Atner, my dude. Shout out to Atner, man. Always coming out with them good questions with us, man. But yeah, just man, it sucks, but I understand. Like, granted, I do know that our current president wants to, roll out a lot more vaccines by the end of April, if I remember correctly. And so
he wants everybody. I think he wants everybody vaccinated by May.
Yeah,
that's a tall order.
It is a tall order, but then I'm just glad we have a plan or even some type of like ballpark, estimate like where we can possibly go with this thing. And of course, if everyone adheres to it, hey, hopefully restrictions do kind of like ease up a little bit. We've seen a couple of we've seen California kind of ease up on restrictions by the start of April or even May.
And April 1st, the state of California April 1st said that they were going to allow theme parks to open up at 25% capacity. I talked with some friends at Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. It sounds like to me, dude, that concerts are going to be back, which will be that'll be strange.
That'll be interesting to see. But like, it's just more so like we all just as just people, as a society and as a people, just basically kind of like, come on, guys, let's just try to. We're at the final stretch of this freaking thing, of this horrid thing. We're getting out of it, hopefully, with all of our limbs intact, all of our internal organs inside of us still, and let's just kind of gut this out and just stay indoors, or just adhere to social guidelines, to social distancing guidelines, and just hopefully get our vaccine somewhere. And hopefully we have, by that time too, when we're able to get our vaccines, we have enough information to say, hey, this is the good ones, these are the good ones, these are the ones you gotta look out for, right? Blah blah blah. No politics in there at all. Just freaking. I just want to go back to a freaking convention. I want to be able to go out and hang out with my friends. I want to go out and be able to hang out with this fucking dude and have a live podcast, right? With our other friends too. That'd be freaking.
We
awesome
are planning on.
Yeah, we are. Which we are definitely planning to have, guys. It's just more so like we can't do it because we still got people who are unwilling to adhere to small things. Period. And hey,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to believe a certain way, go ahead, bro. But hey, just do it on your own freaking time. Don't go out and sneeze in people's faces and shit, and push back this freaking dumbass, this freaking pandemic as farther than it should have already. I want to, like everybody, dude. We all want to go out. We all want to go out to eat. We all want to go out to interact with people. We all want to go out and see our nerdy shit or whatever type of thing we have. I there are 3 or 4 conventions that I desperately wanted to go to this year: Comic-Con, WonderCon, Rose City, and ECC.
Oh, that's right, Rose City up there with your family.
Yeah, dude, Rose City was supposed to be in September, right? And I'm hoping that maybe they kind of the guidelines kind of like are less restricted specifically in Portland. But the way it's looking like it, even in September, nah. So I'm like, yo, like, let's just chill. Let's just chill. Let's just gut this out. We've granted, I know a good portion of us can't get it out because COVID, working, all that shit. I get it. I understand. But for the rest of us that can, right? For the rest
Yes,
of us that are more than able to, let's chill. Right? Let's chill.
agreed.
Let's adhere to the guidelines. Let's just basically be a rational human adult.
And there's
Period.
all the reason in the world for us to stay indoors because that's what the overlords want us to do is stay inside and become just droned out automatons. We've got a shit ton of stuff to watch and do at home.
Mm-hmm.
We have our PlayStations, we have our Nintendo Switches, and
So
we've got
close. So
we have
close to
our
a PS5.
we have our
Close.
I've got two. I'm recording right into an iMac. I've got my MacBook Pro to my left, my
Mm.
iPad over here to my right. Just making sure we're all taken care of. So we've got so much crap to keep us indoors.
Mm.
Why do we need to go outside? Especially when we have stuff on Disney Plus like WandaVision.